Hey lovelies, welcome back to my channel. Thank you for stopping by again, and if this is your first time on this channel, you're definitely welcome. Do well to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so that you get to see more of my content. And in today's tutorial, I'm going to show you how to make this really nice dress with waist opening and ruched sleeve. And without further ado, let's get started. So guys, this is the African print that we're going to use for this tutorial. You can go ahead and use crepe material or even cotton material as seen on the style inspiration. So for this African print, I'm going to be using 4 yards. And to get started, we are going to draft the upper part, all right? And I'm going to be drafting it on the pattern paper. Of course, you can go ahead and draft directly on your material, okay? But for tutorial purpose, I'm going to be drafting on the pattern paper. So right here on the pattern paper, the first thing that I'm going to do is to go ahead and mark the start line, which is also going to serve as the shoulder line. And up next, I'll go ahead and mark the neckline using the width of 3 inches. And for the depth, I'm going to be using 7 inches, all right? And I'm going to create a V neckline for the front piece, all right? We're drafting the front piece first of all. And up next, we are going to go ahead and indicate the shoulder divided by 2, and in this case it is 7 inches. And after doing that, we are going to go ahead and add our sleeve to it, all right? And I'm going to be adding 9 inches, all right, for the sleeve. So I'll go ahead and indicate that on this line. And right there on the point, I'm going to come down by 1 inch, and I'm going to connect from that point to the neckline. And the next thing to do is to go ahead and start indicating the vertical lines. So first of all, I'm going to indicate where the bust point is. And in this case, it is 10 inches. And I'm also going to go ahead and indicate the mid waist, which is actually 15 inches for this tutorial. And after indicating the 15 inches half length, I'm going to add 1.5 inches for band allowance, okay? I'm so sorry, I didn't know the camera didn't cover this part. And here I'm just going to go ahead and create a straight line on those points that I marked. So right here guys, this is the bust point, and right here this is the half length or the waistline, and this is the band of 1.5 inches that I added earlier on. And the next thing we are going to do guys is to go ahead and create our sleeve opening. And for this tutorial, the sleeve opening is not going to be big, it's going to be smart because the dress is fitted on the upper part, okay? So to create our sleeve opening, just go ahead and divide your round arm divided by 2, and for mine it is 14 divided by 2 will give me 7. So I'll just go ahead and add 7 inches here. I'll just come down by 7 inches for the sleeve opening. And right here, I'll just go ahead and link the points together. And the next thing to do is to start indicating the body measurement starting from the bust point. So I'm just going to divide my bust by 4, and that gives me 9.5. So I just indicate that here, and I'm going to add 1 inch seam allowance to that, all right? And I'm going to come to the waistline also, and I'm going to repeat the same thing, cut out my waist, all right? I'm going to indicate that here, and I'm also going to add 1 inch, and whatever I have on the waistline, I'm going to just go ahead and replicate on the other side here, on the band here. And up next, I'll just go ahead and link the points together. And right here from the bust point, I'm going to just link it up to the sleeve opening, all right? I'm going to use my pattern master to just go ahead and connect the bust to the sleeve opening directly. And right about now guys, this is our front piece, so I'll just go ahead and cut out the pattern. And the next thing to do is to go ahead and cut the back piece. So I just placed the front piece on a new pattern paper, all right? So I'm just going to place the pattern for the front piece directly on this pattern. I'm not going to be adding any zip allowance to the back here, all right? We're going to be adding zipper allowance while we are cutting our fabrics, okay? So I'm just going to repeat the same thing, like I'm going to follow the shape of the front piece and I'm going to, you know, cut it out. So here guys, after using the front piece to cut the back piece, we are going to cut the neckline for the back piece. So here I just maintain the same width, and for the depth of the back piece I'm going to use 1, and I'm just going to go ahead and link it up. All right, and right after creating the neckline, this is our back piece, so I'll just go ahead and indicate that on the pattern paper. And right now I'll just go ahead and cut the back neckline. And up next, I'm going to come inward here on the waistline by ½ an inch, all right? And I'll just go ahead and indicate that here. And after doing that, I'm just going to go ahead and link that point that we marked towards the center back like so. And I'll just go ahead and shade that part, all right? And this part that I just shaded, we are going to cut it off. Okay, we are doing this to ensure that we don't have zipper bulge at the back. All right, and another thing that I'm going to do is to come to this part and I'm going to come upward by 1.5 inches. You can either do 1 inch or 1.5, so I'm just going to indicate 1.5 here, and I'm going to link it to the side of the pattern. Okay, and I'll also go ahead and shade the part like so. All right, and we are going to just go ahead and cut off those parts that we shaded. And so right here we have both our front pattern and our back pattern, and we are just going to go ahead and use this pattern to cut on our fabrics. But before we do that, I'll just go ahead and separate the band from the front pattern. And right here guys, I've gone ahead to use the pattern paper to cut out the fabrics for the front piece and the back piece. And right here, this is the back piece, all right? And on the shoulder area here, instead of adding ½ an inch joining allowance, I added 1 inch because we are going to be creating panel on the shoulder later on. Okay, and here on the waistline I added ½ an inch joining allowance. All right, and here this is the zipper allowance of 1 inch. And here we have the front piece, and as you can see right here, I added ½ an inch joining allowance to the waist area, and I also went ahead to add 1 inch to the shoulder area. Okay, and right now I'm just going to go ahead and cut the skirt part, and for the skirt part I'm going to be cutting a 180-degree flare. All right, and this skirt is going to be a midi skirt. All right, it's not going to be as long as it is on the style inspiration. Okay, you can go ahead and cut a longer one. All right, but for this tutorial I'm going to be cutting a midi skirt, not as long. All right, and what you need to do first of all is to go ahead and fold your fabrics into a triangular form like so. All right, I've done this severally on my previous video. If you don't know how to cut a 180-degree flare, just go back to my previous videos and you see that with much clearer explanation. Okay, so the next thing to do guys is to get your waist circumference. Okay, and for this tutorial the waist circumference is 33 inches, so I'm going to plus 2 inches to that, and the 2 inches is for zipper allowance, and that is going to give me 35 inches. All right, and that 35 inches I'm going to divide it by 3.14, and I'm going to get 11. All right, and that 11 is what I'm going to mark here. I'm going to place my tape rule at the apex and I'm going to mark 11. That is going to be the radius. All right, so I'm going to mark 11 all the way around like so. And the next thing to do is to get the skirt length, and in order to do this I'm just going to go ahead and minus my half length of 16.5 from my gown length, and I'm going to add allowance to that. All right, 1.5 inches folding allowance, and after doing that I got 29.5, okay, for my skirt length, and I'm just going to go ahead and plus 11 inches radius that we used earlier on. I'm going to plus it to this 29.5, and that is going to give me 40.5, and so I'm going to measure 40.5 all the way around. And after doing that I'll just go ahead and cut off the excess. And I'll come to the waistline here and add half an inch allowance. All right, and after doing that, I'll cut off the excess on the waist area here. And I'll just go ahead and notch the center, and this right here is the skirt part of this dress. Alright guys, so in order to start stitching, I have the upper part here and I went ahead to cut facing. Alright, this is the facing for the back. You can also go ahead and line it up, alright, but I didn't want to use lining, so I cut facing for the back, and I also went ahead to do the same thing by cutting facing for the front also. Next thing to do is to go ahead and attach the facing to the neckline. So here, this is the right side of the dress, and I'm also going to go ahead and align the right side of the facing to the right side of the upper part here, and we are going to go ahead and stitch it, okay? And I'm going to go ahead and repeat the same process also to the back piece. And right here, that's exactly what I've done. I've gone ahead to attach the facing to both the back piece and also the front piece. And up next, the next thing to do is to take the front piece like so, and you're going to fold it into two like so, all right? And after folding it from the center front, we are going to mark 2.5 inches, all right? And we are going to notch it and create a small cut around that place, all right, just like an half an inch cut, all right, on that 2.5 inches. And right now I'll just open it up again, and this is the small cut that we made at the center. So right now you are going to get a 1 inch stripe like so, about 5 inches, okay? And we are going to align it to this part only, the only part we cut, and we're going to align it and we are going to stitch it. And right now guys, after stitching it, this is what it looks like, all right? And the next thing to do is just to go ahead and fold it by half an inch, then you are going to fold it again, then you are going to stitch it, all right? But if you are using a lining, you would not need to do all this, okay? All right, but instead of folding it, I'll just go ahead and use hemming glue, all right, hemming gum. I'm going to put it inside like so, and I'm going to iron it because I don't want any stitching along the waist area, all right? Just to make it neat, I'm going to just use hemming gum to secure it. And right here guys, I'll just use the pin to hold this part in place, all right? I'll later go on and iron it using the hemming glue to, you know, secure it. And the next thing to do after that is just to get a long stripe like this one, and this stripe is about 3 inches wide, and what you need to do is just to fold it by half an inch on both sides, all right? We're going to use this stripe to create casing for the rope, all right? So you're just going to come down from the neckline. You're not going to start from the neckline, you're going to come down by about 1 inch or 0.5 inches, all right? And you're going to start, you know, placing the casing here like so, all right? So I'll just use the pin to hold it in place. And the next thing I'm going to do is to stitch on this side and on this side, then I'm going to stitch the center, all right? So right here guys, I've gone ahead to secure this part with an hemming glue, then I stitch in the casing. As you can see, this is the opening right here, and right at the top here there's also an opening there. And the next thing we need to do is just to go ahead and place in our rope, and that's exactly what I've done here. I pass in the rope, then I secure it at this part here. And right here, this is what it looks like on the front, and we can just go ahead and ruch it in like this, all right? So the next thing to do guys is to go ahead and add the band that we cut off earlier on. So right here we're going to attach the band. Remember, the band is 1.5 inches, so I added 1 inch for sewing allowance, okay? And here the band is 2.5 inches, so I'll just place it on the right side like so, then I'll flip it to the wrong side and I'll place the other piece on the wrong side, okay? It's as if we are sandwiching the front piece in between the band, okay? So just put it in between the band, then we're going to align it properly, then we're going to stitch it all the way down, all right? And right here I've gone ahead to stitch it down, and this is what it looks like. All right, so when you flip it to the right side, this is what you are going to have. All right, and here this is the opening on the waist area. And right now the next thing to do is just to go ahead and align the back and the front together at the shoulder. Then we are going to stitch it on the shoulder. So right here guys, I've gone ahead to join the shoulders, and I used the 1 inch allowance that we left earlier on. Alright guys, so while joining the shoulder, I left an opening so that I can fold the sleeve separately. As you can see right here, I folded the front separately and I folded the back also separately. And the next thing to do guys is to close the shoulder completely on both sides. And after doing that, I'm going to flip open the dress like so, okay? And right on the shoulder, we are going to create casing for the rope, and that is why we left 1 inch on the shoulder instead of half an inch, okay? So you can just go ahead and press this open to make it easier. All right, and the next thing you are going to do is just to fold it by half an inch. All right, here on the shoulder we are going to fold by half an inch, and you are going to stitch it just to create a casing for our rope. All right, we are going to do this on both sides of the shoulder. So right here guys, I've gone ahead to create the casing on the shoulder, and I also went ahead to insert the rope inside and I secured it. And this part is going to be ruched like this later on. And right now the next thing to do guys is to align the front and the back together, and the next thing we are going to do is to sew the sides together. And after stitching the side, we are going to go ahead and attach the skirt part to it also. So right here guys, I've gone ahead to join the sides of the upper part together, and I also went ahead to attach the skirt part, as you can see right here. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and flip it to the right side. And the next thing to do guys is to go ahead and fold the hem of the dress. Then we are going to attach zipper to the back. And having done that, this is what the dress looks like. All right, so here on the shoulder, this is what it looks like when you pull in the rope. Okay, and on the other side of the shoulder here, this is what the sleeves looks like before pulling in the rope. And right here on the waist opening, this is what you would have before pulling in the rope. So when you ruch it in, this is what your dress will look like.